I absolutely freaking love watching that show. Hey everybody, I wanted to make this video today to talk about something that I absolutely loved as a kid and I still like watching as an adult today, and that is the Wacky Adventures of Ronald McDonald. This episode specifically that I want to talk about is the first one, Scared Silly. I don't know if I want to talk about the whole series just yet, but I at least want to talk about the first episode and let people just know that it's something that, even though it's supposed to be a huge advertisement, it still did a really good job of being a good show first. And I think that's something about the show that kind of makes it to where you can go back and watch it, even with the understanding of it was supposed to kind of be an advertisement back in the day. Um, the way that I used to watch it as a kid was on VHS because, well, that's how you had it. Um, it was on VHS that you had to buy specifically at McDonald's stores, I believe. From what I understood and looked at, that's pretty much how you had to do it. You had to physically go to the store, and they had them in a little thing, like how they would have brochures and stuff in it. It was just the VHS is sitting there. But now the way that I watch it is, and there'll be a link for it in the description below. There's a channel that has the entire series uploaded, and they have it uploaded in a huge compilation, or they have it where you can watch the individual episodes as well. But that's how I ended up watching it, and that's how I watch it now since I no longer have those VHSs. Bummer, but at least there's somebody out there who's making sure that these things that we got to grow up with are still available for us to still get to have as adults. And the way the show, the reason I say the show did a very good job of being a good show first. I mean, you see it as soon as the show starts with the intro. It is a fantastic intro, great music, and the montage that you watch of them starting their day is just, I mean, it's fun. And the way the theme song goes, I actually thought it was kind of clever. If this was made for or if this was on TV, the fact that it starts with an alarm sound and a very specific sounding alarm, it would be if you were to go and get yourself food, or you were going to the bathroom in between shows. If you heard that theme song starting, it would be one of those where you're oh crap, I gotta hurry up. Oh, I freaking, I love that show. Because it's so familiar, and because it's an alarm, it does that thing where if you hear an alarm, you're immediately wait, something. Because that's what alarms do. They alarm you with something. And they do a good job of just introducing all of the characters in this first episode. You get to see Ronald and Sunday starting watching a movie, and then they get interrupted with a video call from Tika, who is a character I believe made specifically for the show. And you get to meet her, and then you see Birdie and Grimace, and you get to see how they're, because they had commercials and stuff that they were used in, but you get to see them, with how their personalities are and stuff, and you get a glimpse of how they interact with each other with Ronald with them, and then you also get to see Sunday's reaction to some things that they say, and then you get the transition that they go from, because the show starts out live action but then goes into cartoon, and the way that it went in cartoon, I always was man, I would love if they kind of incorporated this somehow in a place, but I know it's something they wouldn't really be able to do, but I thought it would have been neat. And it starts, I mean, dude, even the car that they use, because they're going camping, which is the whole main thing about it, is it starts off with they're supposed to go camping, and they go in this car, and the car has its own freaking personality, and the jokes that they have between the car with and Sunday, everything about it is just, it's such a well written show, which is why I think they did a good job of making it a good show first, because the writing is fantastic in it, and it's one too where if you're a parent who just kind of has to be around when the show's going on, it's a joke where you're oh, that's actually funny, and you'll laugh at it. They talk about the car's complaining about all the weight and all the people it's gonna have to move, and Sunday, one of the things he says is, oh great, dual airbags and an attitude, I hope you're leased. A kid's gonna be I don't know what that means, but a parent who's off to the side is just gonna be what? Gosh, okay. It's so freaking good. And then once you get to the actual meat and potatoes of the episode, once they actually make it into the mansion, it is, there's something that I realized rewatching it recently, was it was very Willy Wonka-y, where they end up going into this big mansion because when they try to actually like go camping, the weather ends up like, even though the weather was supposed to be good, it ends up turning sour, and they have to go and find, shelter or whatever. And they're like, hey, we saw a mansion that was like, down the hill or whatever over there. And they go into it, and just like slowly they just start like, you start losing characters, and you lose another character, you lose another character. And then at the end, it's just like rapid fire, you start losing characters. And there's also like a lot of music in it, and the music in the show is absolutely fantastic. I don't think there's like a single song in the first episode where I'm like, okay, maybe I'll skip through this. Like every single one, you're just like, you're sitting there and you're just like kind of jamming along with it. And I thought they did a very good job of that. Like I said, even as an adult, I still enjoy the freaking music in it, especially the song they do in the car. I can't think of what the name of the song is. I accidentally hit the table. My bad. I can't remember exactly what the name of the song is, but it's pretty much it's like the car ride song, and it is just so freaking catchy. So like, if there's anything you're gonna probably walk away from if you watch the episode, is you're gonna have that music stuck in your head, and you're probably gonna be like singing it in your regular day life. And somebody's gonna be like, "What are you singing?" And you're gonna be like, just nothing. It's from a show that I watch. Here, just listen to this. I can't be the only one who has it stuck in their head." And then you can just do that, and then we'll get that earworm spread. It'll be fantastic. But yeah, so like you get like once like you get everybody in there, and you just start like losing everybody, and because of the music, like I said, it's just a huge Willy Wonka feel. Just because I mean it's exactly that. Like how it goes is you get like music, and then you get losing people, and then by the end there ends up being really a winner because you find out the reason that everything pretty much was like planned out to where this was gonna happen, which since it's like like a behind like curtains, like, oh, this was like there's a plot to this whole thing and it was planned out in a specific, gives it even more of like a Willy Wonka feel to it. But throughout the episode, like you get to really get like a good feel for like how the characters all are. Like you get like Ronald, like even though he is a clown and he's got like magic and everything, he still is a human at the end of the day, and you kind of get like the idea of that, where when Tika is saying a story as they're driving to Far-Flung Forest, which is where they're supposed to go camping at, she's trying to tell a story and get everybody all like scared and nervous about doing this, and the camera just like shifts over to like Ronald as she's saying it, and she's still saying the story, and then you see like he's like looking, but then when she says like a certain part of it, he just has that like unenthused like really face that you only see in the mirror, which I mean it's just like great directing in that, where it uses a great shot to just kind of give you like a really like come on, and even though everybody else is getting nervous about it, he just then he has to kind of remember, oh yeah, right, I'm supposed to be like the keep up morale, and I'm a clown, whatever else. He goes, well, I've been there a bunch and I've never seen any phantom, and it's like, all right, yeah, it's like it gives you an idea of how like Ronald is as a person, where he's still a realist, but at the same time like still knows like his role, and he fits it very well. And then you get like the McNuggets, which I guess they kind of know about this the whole time too, but they don't really like. They do a better job of showing you that like Tika, who planned this whole thing, knew about it, and they're just like very like in your face, like yes, she is aware, she's doing this on purpose. The McNuggets don't like. I don't think, for me, like looking at it, they don't do like the best at kind of letting you know like, oh yeah, no, they're like aware of this. It almost feels like toward the end it just kind of goes, oh yeah, they knew the whole time, but you don't almost feel it, especially because like for them, like when it came to like the camping, if you look in their tent, they had like the nicest interior, and they had like whole ass beds with like frames and like nightstands and everything. Like they had like the nicest setup, so to also just be like, oh, we're also like not probably gonna be here like at the end of the night. It was a little like, okay, so like did they know or did they not know? But then it ends, it's like, no, they knew the whole time. You're like, I don't know why they knew, but all right. Either that or they just really were good at like faking it. I don't know. And like another thing that I like they do with like the characters is they have like the Fry Kids, which are like the one characters who don't have any kind of hands or arms. They're literally just like fuzzy balls with feet and a face. And like one of the lines they have is because they're like, so, it's something with doors, and they're like, I've been opening doors all my life, and you're just kind of like, but you have no hands. And then he goes up to the door, and the way he's gonna open it is he just kicks, and you're like, I don't. All right, yeah, opening doors all your life. You're doing a really good job trying to do it here right now. And then you get like Hamburglar, and the way that he, like the way you see his character is like the whole. I mean, when Tika's telling her story, he's just like, yes, this is my kind of story, and enjoys hearing it. And when they're like, actually like sitting and doing the whole camping thing, or actually no, this is even before it. He's trying to get like he wants Ronald to use his magic because he's trying to be like all lazy and stuff, and he just wants to like get where they're supposed to go sooner because he's tired of walking. So he has a bear call. I don't know how that works because it literally looks like a little like it looks like a pen, like almost like a dog whistle, but I think it just has like a picture of like a bear or something on there, and he blows into it. And clearly trying to get hopefully he's like, okay, maybe I can get him to just kind of do like get us just there where we need to faster and away from this bear. And everybody starts getting nervous. He goes, wow, this bear call actually it seems to really work. And then behind him there's the bear, and he just goes, oh, it works all right. And I'm just like, when I heard that like the first time, I'm just like, well, that bear's not very sneaky. And as an adult now I hear that and I'm just like, dude, that is absolutely genius writing, and I love it. So like they just like it's just like I said, man, like it's a genuinely good show before it really felt like it was an advertisement over anything. Um, and like I said, like that writing I think is like a big sign of this. Yes, it was like they cared about making it. At least that's what I think. And then you get like Franklin's, because like he's another character that I believe was introduced in the show specifically, and he's the one who in this mansion ends up he's like kind of making this whole thing and trying to make it all like, oh yeah, this is gonna be freaking I'm trying to like, I'm making a game and I want people to like play my game, and is kind of being a dick about it. um I like how they like kind of used him at the end of like doing this whole like game thing where he's like a floating head, and the way that they like use as a floating head, it's not like, and it's not like super like, it's not like the Wizard of Oz where it's like a stagnant head and it just kind of like just talks. It's very, even though it's just a head, like the hair is very wispy and it moves around a lot, and he does a lot of just like good like, it does a lot of like facial expressions because it just looks like it is just like a real floating head. And like the way that he talks is actually like really like interesting, even though he's a kid. It actually just like, even, and like using the voice change or whatever else, but like you're like, yeah, this actually sounds like it would just be like an adult, or I guess in this case the Phantom. And it was like, yeah, if this were like a real scenario, it would kind of feel it. And like there's like one point where it's it's Ronald is supposed to answer a question at the end of it, and he's getting timed, and so like it's the head is just like, oh 15 seconds, 10 seconds, but when he does like the 5 second one, and it's like at Ronald and he's thinking, he's like, oh, if it's this or this, and then the head in the background is just like 5 seconds and just like going, because it's the head's just like rotating and just going, and I'm like, this is actually just funny too. Even though that I guess the character is supposed to be like real and serious, you're still just like, that's funny how the head rolls and flies around. Like just everything about it is just so freaking good and well done. And something that I also kind of like realized too is that, and I think this is something they typically do with animation, is they will create characters and they will try to make the characters have things that make them look physically related to the voice actor, which I think helps make it stick. Like and like the big character that I kind of noticed it at first was Franklin, but then like specifically his dad I think like Dr. Quizzical or something is what his name was. Something, goofy like that. But like he's a character that looks like he was supposed to sound exactly like that and look exactly like that, and it matches so perfectly. And then like looking at all the other characters, there's not a voice that sounds unnatural coming from a character. It all just like it's so freaking perfect. Which is how like I think like the effort, like I said, the effort in making sure that it was a good show does that. Like it just everything looks and sounds right. Um and then you get yeah, like I said, like the casting. And then there was something that I noticed too, like speaking of casting, and I guess kind of like getting to a point where like, at the end of this, um, everybody else is fine, but you really should watch the show first. But yeah, everybody else ends up being fine, and they all get to go camping at the end of it. But when it goes back to like, because it like starts live action and then animation in the middle, and then it closes with a live action section. Um, you get where it's Sunday and Ronald are watching the sequel to the movie they were watching earlier, and in a lot of the other parts, it looks like Sunday is animatronic, but then you have like this last scene where Sunday, I'm like looking, I was like, well, the head looks animatronic, but is that just like a human body supposed to look like a dog? And I'm looking, I'm like, that it really does. And then I found out because I wanted to like look and make sure that I had all like the names of the characters right, and it turns out that yes, I believe at the end of it it actually was, and I guess the actor is Vernay Troyer. I hope I'm saying that right, because I was like, man, that looks like too much just like a person in a suit, and it was, and I was just like, oh, that just like pulled me right the heck out of it, and I'm glad that they kept the show animated predominantly over the live action bit, just for that alone, because I think that would really ruin the rewatchability of the show if a lot of it was just stuff like that where you're just like that clearly is a dude, whereas other parts of it kind of looks more like animatronic, and that just like for me it was like, oh, that just like throws me out and pulls me out. But all right, cool. But like yeah, the I think that it is still like a show. Like it just there's more very great about it than I would say like bad. That other and then it's like, you have all those aspects to it where it's just so freaking good and well done. You kind of just don't care that it's an ad, and you kind of forget that it is until then the episode literally closes out, and then it opens to I think it's Ronald in a window, and he opens it, and he just goes, it pretty much is, I hope to get to see you live and in person at McDonald's. And then you're like, oh shit, that's right. This is an advertisement. So literally the whole time, other than like the McDonald's name and just seeing the M, you kind of forget that it's an ad. And then they just, at the end of it, they're just like, oh, don't forget, like, this is a real place. You should go. And you're like, oh, okay. And I think the fact that they do it that way kind of makes it a little bit better. But I mean, at the end of it, they still kind of were just like, hey, just we remember that this is an ad by the end of this. Um, but yes, so like I said in the description, I'm gonna have a link to be able to get you guys to go ahead and like watch, like I said, either like the compilation or watch those episodes individually. And I'm still kind of thinking if I'm wanting to actually continue on with it, but it wouldn't be next time. Next time, I'm thinking about wanting to talk maybe about like an album that I listen to, music or something. Um, Originally, this video was going to be on a group that is no longer together, but my wife was like, I think for you starting, it probably isn't going to be the best if you start with something of that level. You should probably maybe just stick with like watching or talking about something else that's nicer. And so I chose the Wacky Adventures of Ronald McDonald, which was very different from what I was going to talk about earlier. But I hope you guys had a good time watching this, and I will see you guys in the next video, which might be next Sunday, might be later in the week. Thanks for watching.